From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, hindsight is a mug. Just how much of the struggles should have been identified by this coaching staff as early as last December. Was Alabama's pursuit of Mike a distraction with repercussions? And we're generating discussion sparked by Cummins. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Promo code warchantbogo. Warchant BOGO. Buy one, get one free. Flaunt it to everybody that goes to all these retail locations. The Sunstop, the Flying J, the Pilot, the Loves, CVS, Amazon, these sort of retailers. Laugh at them, mock them for buying their Vitamin Energy and not getting the promo code on top of it. Warchant BOGO, Warchant BOGO. Buy one, get one free. Forgot who tweeted at me the other day, but said they went ahead and bought it for stocking stuffers. Let me know how it goes. Actually, you don't even have to let me know how it goes. You're going to be the most favorite sibling or coworker, wherever your role is. It's going to be that much more magnified and enhanced and appreciated because of you gifting Vitamin Energy. I mean, you can't use a little bit more energy. You can't use a little bit more better of a mood. You can't use a little bit more of a better focus. Try it. You'll like it. Shake it and take it. VitaminEnergy.com. Warchant.com, Ultimate Seminoles Sports Source. 5-star rating and review, everybody. Please, thumbs up as well on the YouTube side of things. Corey Clark in the house. Corey Clark, greetings. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. So, hey, you, Ira, and Jeff are going, right? Is Tom going?
I thought he was, but I don't know for sure.
But Warchant's sending three. I just want people to understand that. Warchant is sending 3 people up to South Bend for a 1-8 football team.
Yeah.
I just want y'all to know how much we care. I'm throwing out that out there. Just want you to know how much we care. We're still sending 3 people up there to go cover this team because we want you guys to have the most access, the best access possible. So we're going to be up there. We're here whether 13-0 or 1-9. Warchant ain't going anywhere, and that's our promise to you.
Shout out to subscribers giving us the latitude to be able to do these sort of things too. We appreciate you. Come join us, everybody. Only $1, 2 months, FSU1. That's the promo code. Also, might have set a bad precedent yesterday by pretty much giving the entire show over to random_John. Let's not do that again, Aslan.
That was my fault. I didn't know those were all his random_John. You know we love you. I've met him. I thought those were all questions from different people. I didn't realize that I would have been much more concise because I went on and on and on with some of those answers. That was all me. It's not you. Don't blame you, buddy. That was me. You know what that was, folks? That's accountability on yours truly.
There we go. Whack 169 mailbag show, everybody. Good morning, guys. Really don't have much of a question. Just wanted you to know how much I appreciate your guys' effort on the Wake Up Pod. As horrible as the season has gone, you guys normally get me to laugh at least once per episode. Just once. All right. And I appreciate the effort to give us updates and information on the team. Thank you. Did have one question, though, he said.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's go.
It was brought up on the board that an issue, not the only issue, involves how Mike and his agent handled the end of last year. Mike preaches being together, climbing, but then just a few days after the snub, his name is connected to the Alabama job, and he didn't come out and kill any rumors. Used that as leverage for a new contract. When his agent knew there was no way FSU was going to let him go, they were going to give him everything he wanted. The concern is that the players saw this and were like, well, he's using this to get more money out of a horrible situation, like the snub. Florida State not letting Mike go no matter what to get paid. I don't know if I'm grasping, but it's just something that never sat right with me when it happened. Wow, that's deep. I never thought about that one.
Yeah, I don't know how much it would impact the players. It's a fair point. I don't know how much it would impact the players because they're in that they understand it, right? I don't think they would be offended that their coach is getting more money or trying to get more money. And I do think Alabama was genuinely interested, and he might have been genuinely interested in Alabama. I've never really had a conversation with him off the record about it, and I guess if I did, I wouldn't tell you guys about it anyway. That's what off the record means. But I don't think that was smoke and mirrors. I think Alabama had a real interest in him.
Yeah.
I don't know if DeBoer was one. Well, I know they wanted Lanning, right?
Lanning, yeah.
I don't know if DeBoer was 2A and Norvell was 2B, or they both were 2A. but they really wanted him, and I keep coming back to this. When Bruce Feldman, who is as good as there is with sources in this game, is talking about why Norvell would be a good fit for Alabama, why he makes sense. He's selling it. He's already hearing things that makes him think it's coming, that Norvell is going to be hired at Alabama. So I don't know how how far it went down the track, but it was on the track. And then Florida State came in and gave him that extension that, you're probably lamenting now, gave him that extension. But, I don't know if that affects the psyche of a team to have the coach, flirt like that. But, I don't dismiss it completely because it seemed to have an effect on the team with Jimbo was doing it with LSU every year. Or maybe it's just you don't have as good of players. Could be Occam's razor. But it also could be something to that, I guess. Again, I don't want to dismiss it. That when your coach, I don't think it's maybe it was a money play, just to get more money. But when that happens, when your coach's name is out there, and fans are really, really worried about it, and Bruce Feldman's tweeting about it, and he is not coming out and saying, "No, I'm at Florida State. I always want to be at Florida State." He is not denying any of those rumors. Yeah, it could maybe take a toll on a locker room, I guess. Or at least a player's psyche. Okay, well then, you know what? I'm in the portal. Come give me an offer. It's time to renegotiate. If Mike Norvell can do it, I can do it too.
Let's combine these two. Nole into QC. Is that Quebec City? Is Quebec in the house, or is that Queen City? Maybe Charlotte.
Could be Charlotte. Yeah.
All right, him and W Law inquiring about the spine of this team. Nolan to QC. I know it's easy to nitpick and pile on during the downtimes, but I've heard Aslan refer to the first and second snack breaks multiple times while listening to the pod. Does this mean the team goes through 2 or 2.5 hours of practice and has multiple breaks to snack? Water breaks, okay, but it's just one more thing that screams this team is soft as hell. I can just picture them all huddled around with juice boxes and orange slices, far cry from how football used to be, at least at this level.
You see what you do, Aslan?
I know.
You see what you do?
I know.
All right, what's the next question?
So, and the other one is, would you rather see backups and walk-ons giving max effort or starters half blanking their way through a game? Seems like lack of effort, quitting is an issue. The only way to try to fix this is by benching starters who have already lost 8 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, if you stop playing your best players, even if you don't like the effort they give all the time, I certainly don't. I don't look out there and okay, they're absolutely going through the motions 100% of the time. I just don't. I don't see that. There are plays, obviously, when maybe guys don't give the effort you want. But if you start rolling walk-ons out there, you're trying to win games, man. You go, and I get you got thumped by North Carolina. So in hindsight, what difference did it make? But you go and say, okay, this defensive line isn't giving me the effort I want. Let me go put in my third stringers against Notre Dame. Okay, man, that's fine. You can teach a lesson, but then when you lose 70-0, don't then say that's embarrassing. What's more embarrassing? Your starter's not giving effort on every play, or your third stringer's just getting blown off the field on national television. So I think there's, and also I don't think there are guys again that don't play hard every play, but they do play. It's not like they're just loafing the entire game. They do give effort. They don't give great effort on every play. Maybe they could ask to come out if they're tired, all that. But I don't know, man. I just
He yells at guys if they don't catch the ball with 2 hands. If they catch the ball and they jump and they pirouette in the air and they fall down, he'll run at them. I'm saying Norvell will run at them and yell at them, "Get up, finish." And they'll still have to get up and run 50 yards, even though obviously the play is dead. He pushes them so hard in practice. I cannot imagine that they're loafing on the level that Twitter and everybody keeps talking about, and they keep throwing those guys out there. But, it seems like Jeff's saying it as well. I trust Jeff's judgment more than I do people on Twitter. But I just keep hearing all this about this guy's loafing, that guy's loafing. Can't believe they keep playing him. I find it hard to believe that those guys really are loafing and then still going out there because there's no way this coaching staff would allow it.
Also, none of them, save for probably the 2 defensive tackles, and maybe Azarie, who I don't think loafs at all. He didn't get off a block against Miami. He didn't have any interest in it. But when he's asked to cover someone, he tries his damnedest to cover someone. Other than the 2 tackles and him, I don't. I don't even know what I was trying to. I was going in a direction there, and I can't figure out what it was. But no. I started, and then I started talking about Azarie. But those guys are NFL players. They know they're going to be in the NFL. They can't put on tape crazy loafing plays. They can't. That's going to cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars if they look like they're not trying. So even if it's completely self-indulgent and it's only individualistic to say, I'm going to try hard in this game because I want to get drafted high next year, that still helps the team out. So sometimes guys just aren't good, and that looks like they're loafing. And it's weird because when we talk about not giving effort, typically, or loafing, it almost always goes to the defense. We never think the examples that we always see of a guy maybe not pursuing the ball like you'd want him to, we never use it to talk about the offense loafing or not giving great effort or max effort. And in this case, the reason why, the offense just sucks. How would you know if they're playing hard? They just can't do it. They're not good. The difference with the defensive guys, some of them are so good, they are good. Like they're talented players, they're NFL players. I don't know if there's an NFL guy on this offense. I know there's probably at least 3 or 4 on this defense. And so that's why, I get the frustration. I get that at times it looks like they're not giving effort. It would be nice if when they're tired, you could bring them out of the game and replace them and notice it. They would take themselves out of the game. Like Leonard Hamilton talked about after his win on Monday night. He said what he was encouraged by. This is a weird thing for a coach to say. But what he was encouraged by the most on Monday night from his team's win was he had so many guys asking to come out of the game because they were exhausted. And that's what he wants to get back to. That's what was happening 4 or 5 years ago. They would literally, like Devin Vassell, would ask to come out of the game because he was playing so hard. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't play another minute because he was exhausted. And so that would be nice if defensive linemen or linebackers or a safety might be like, hey, can I get a break? Because I've just busted my ass for 6 plays in a row, and I can't breathe. But, yeah, so I don't know. I know I didn't answer that question. I do think that it's being made it's being made more than it is. I don't think this is a team that plays
They were 17-7 in the second half against Miami. Like they've been in every game in the second half. And then
they're not uninvested. They're not just going through the motions. I legitimately don't think that. I don't. I just think they're not coached well, and they're not nearly as good as we thought. And that maybe that comes off as looking like they're going through the motions. And then again, I get it. We can go back to the Quindarius Jones play. That is horrible effort. Not effort to get there. He got to the guy. He didn't just let him run past him, but care enough to stick your arms out and try to bring him to the ground. That's the effort that's very, very hard to watch because that is an effort thing. But he might have broken the tackle anyway.
Yeah, it's not smart.
It's not smart, but it's not like the kid just let him – he just jogged as the kid ran by him. Yeah. That was so, yeah, I don't know, man. I think we all want to pick nits, and it's a nit fest with this team. They're everywhere. We've been invaded by them. It's an infestation. So we want to pick them all. But I think more than anything, they're not coached well. They don't play incredibly hard. Again, I'll be done right here. Here's what my problem is with the defense. It's not that they just take plays off or they loaf. It's that, man, I watched that Florida team play, and they're not any good either. They're going to have a losing record too. And they are certain you don't want to use them as some great standard. But that defense plays with ferocity against teams that are much better than them. They play hard, and when somebody runs the ball against them or catches the ball against them, they try to deliver punishment. And they play physical, and they play with great urgency. And Florida State does not do anything like that. But is that because they don't care and they're going through the motions, or they're just not as physically gifted somehow as the Florida Gators defense? I don't know. Or they're not put in a position to make those kind of plays. I don't know. But going back to the snack break.
They do too. They did it last time as well. There's multiple things for them to nosh on.
They did it last year, you mean?
Yeah.
They've done it since they've been here. Yeah. And also, understand, much to our chagrin, I guess, when it comes to this season, no other college football beats get to watch practice like we do. I'm going to guess that Georgia has breaks, too. They do not just junction boys it for 2.5 hours in the dust. You have to. You have water breaks, and I would call them nutrition breaks. They're not sitting there eating ice cream sundaes. They're eating stuff that's supposed to replenish them nutritionally. We don't go out there and it's like a picnic. All right, who wants the ice cream sandwiches? Who wants who wanted the prime rib sandwich? It's not like that. By the way, prime rib sandwich at Corner Pocket. Great. Bill, you should cater these snack breaks for the Florida State practice. So let's not act as – I don't think that adds anything to it. I think every college football team in the country does that. But, yes, much like everything else involved with football practices in 2024, they are nothing like what we grew up with. There's no tackling. They let you drink water. It's all this stuff that wasn't a thing 25 and 30 years ago that now they take all of that very, very seriously, and every team in the country has multiple like hydration, nutrition breaks. I'm guessing.
Speaking of practice, we're going to get to a question that it deals with practice, Corey, but let's go ahead and let's give some stuff away. It's that time of the show every single week where we're generating discussion. So let's go ahead and let's fire up the cameras and let's fire up the generator after you, Corey.
Love it.
Generating discussion. It's sparked by Cummins. Give them a follow over on their Instagram, Cummins Lifestyle, all one word. Every single winner every week is entered into a drawing at the end of the month to win a gift bag from Cummins and also to win that free portable generator, or portable power station at the end of the year. So with that said, we've got our winners from the month of October: OC Nole, Gator Kirk, random_John, Nole Dad for Life, and Jay Glaze 32. We gave a bonus one in there for Jay Glaze because we actually had Gator Kirk earlier in the year. So I should probably take Gator Kirk's name out of this right here, Aslan. Figure out what you're doing with your life.
Get it together.
Let's spin the wheel now, Corey. 4 men enter. Only one can win the swag, and it is going to be Jay Glaze 32.
Jay Glaze, not 31. Jay Glaze 32.
All right, Jay Glaze, we'll shoot you a message. Let us know your address, your real name, and as well as your preferred shirt size, and we'll get you hooked up here. All right, the question this week, Corey, does deal with practice, and I'm going to kind of spin it a little bit to make it something that can generate discussion because we've been giving away everyone's won. We need new people, new blood, get involved. Anyhow, Seminole Life says, you fellas have seen practice from August to now. Was the lack of production at practice the same in early August as it is now? No, it's not. I'm curious what differences, if any, you guys see at practice from August until today. We can touch a little bit on that, Corey, but I'm interested to ask you this. I know we don't get to see anybody else practice, but after seeing this team practice for 3 seasons prior to this one, and then seeing the way they look now, do you think you'll have a good sense next April, next August about how good they'll be on the field? Or is it still going to be too tough to tell just by our amateur eye, if you will, watching them practice?
Yeah, it's always going to be tough because they're going up against themselves. So you're never going to be able to truly judge them against another opponent. Maybe Florida State's defense next year is going to be awesome, and the offense looks like trash again because the defense is so great, not just because the offense is trash. The offense might make great improvements, but in practice they're going up against, we're dreaming here, but the best defense in the country. So they're going to not look good, and then when they face a not so good defense, they're going to light it up. But, I do. With all that said, I do think there is a chance we'll know by April. Like, if there's just special, man. Like, the one concern I had, and I never dreamed of a season like this, and we talked about this a lot last spring. We talked about it a lot all through the offseason, is I wondered what kind of special they had. And they don't have any. And that, I think, is something, whether they're going to be awesome or decent or bad again, I don't know. We won't be able to know that in April. We will be able to know if they have any special on the team, right? Don't you think that shows up? Keon Coleman shows up. Johnny showed up. Trey Benson showed up. Jordan, obviously. The other side of the ball, Darrell Jackson has had some special moments, and he had some special moments last spring. Azarie, Go on and on. Burst, Fisk, all the guys that have been great are good. You saw those flashes of special in practice. In hindsight, didn't see a lot of that in April, did we? Malik Benson would make a catch every now and again. Other than that, there wasn't a lot of special. It was a lot of just, all right, okay. And but we didn't know how to gauge it. So I think going into the spring and going into next August, what I'm going to be looking for more than anything isn't, okay, they just completed 11 passes in a row. Are they just incompleted 11 passes in a row? Or they can't run at all. Or they're running great. It'll be which of these guys is a difference maker and a game changer on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, they lack that, and they lacked it the entire time. What I will say, though, is, in August they were still running the ball every now and then in practice successfully.
Yeah, a lot. They were, man. It wasn't every now and again. It seemed like it was every day they were hitting runs up the middle.
They have not had a successful run, it feels like, in good on good, 11 on 11. I mean, since August. I mean, they have not ran the ball well at all in practice. What we did have with DJ was, if maybe the pass rush wasn't as ferocious in the preseason to, maybe give them a fighting chance. I don't really believe that, but maybe something out there. But DJ was good for one or two chunk completions in 11 on 11 stuff throughout the day. That's something that really hasn't happened a lot at all. Period 3 has been a slog. It looked good on Wednesday for a brief moment that Brock had a nice completion downfield shot play to Chakai, but you felt there was enough chunk plays that were happening in practice where you're like, all right, they'll bob and weave, they'll hang in the pocket, and then they'll be able to bust off one of these every quarter, at least one every half, and then we'll see how the season shakes out. Like, big plays have just not been apparent at all at practice, and this kind of goes back to, listen, the defense is not a good defense. So if your offense does not look good against a not so good defense, well, they're going to be worse than not so good. And that's kind of where they're at right now, Corey.
Yeah, agreed. Can't say it any better, Aslan. Can't say it any better. You generated a great discussion there.
Oh, so nice. I'm kind of freaked out by you not having any glasses on.
I can't find them. I can't see, so I can't find my glasses. It's that conundrum. So maybe I'll find them here in a second.
Cummins Lifestyle, come on out to the tailgate again, 1621 South Bend Avenue, 1 to 6 o'clock before the Notre Dame game on Saturday, Belmont Beverage Lot. Ira and I will be there. You should be as well, everybody. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, cptallybar.com, the website. The game's going to be on NBC. It says NBC/Peacock, which I don't get it. Like, I mean, who has Peacock but doesn't have NBC? But that's whatever Notre Dame wants to do. But go watch the game with some Noles if you don't feel like hanging out in your house in a dark room with a fifth of Jack and wondering about life's choices and why your favorite team's in this disarray. You can play some billiards. You can throw some darts, as we talked about, the great debate of standard darts versus electronic darts. Maybe make a friend discussing that over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Yeah. Enjoy great food, including the prime rib sandwich, as Corey pointed out, as well as the Corey wrap. Hopefully I'm going to get I still haven't had the bear at the Corner Pocket, which is their spin on the Italian beef sandwich.
Well, you're not going to have it because it's not on the menu anymore. You blew it. Replaced by the Corey wrap.
Oh, all right. There you go. Bill Giveth.
Bill, they'll take it away. Yep.
But, I'm trying to get me a good Italian beef sandwich while I'm up there in Chicago. But I wish I was at Corner Pocket having wings, slamming them, watching the Noles, and cheering them alongside you good folks. CPTallybar.com, the website, 2475 Appalachie Parkway. Well, I want to give a shout out to our guy, Beham FSU. I think we got to this yesterday. He was asking about portal strategy, what type of player will have greater impact, star players from Group of 5 conferences or former 4- and 5-star kids riding the bench at Power 4 schools. We've had success with both. Feel like we failed with the latter. Yeah, I'm more of, I don't know, star players, but just, man, guys that have produced, guys that have some of that edge. I want some of that. And I hate to say, Fisk, but if you gave me like 10 Fisks or 10 Johnny Wilsons, love you, Johnny. Still going to probably take 10 Braden Fisks.
Well, yeah. One was a second-round pick. One was a sixth-round pick. One's going to be like an all-NFL rookie. I'm trying to think of like Braden Fisk is almost an anomaly. It's going to be hard. Like, it's just crazy they hit those back-to-back. You got two guys that are first and second in the entire NFL for rookies in pressures. And one's a defensive tackle. They're on the same team. It might be a playoff team. They're pretty decent. I think they're 4-4 now. Jared Verse might be the defensive rookie of the year. Braden Fisk is going to get votes. Like, that's how good those guys are, and they just happen to be back-to-back. I don't know how likely it is that you're going to go find another second-round pick from a Western Michigan. You know what I mean?
I like the profile, though. I like the profile. Played a lot, produced a lot.
Yes, correct, yeah. But I feel like, is there a better example of a guy they brought in here that wasn't a second-round pick? Like Tatum Bethune?
Jarian, but Jarian didn't perform a lot.
Yeah, but he was also at a big school. Tatum Bethune, I know UCF is in the Big 12 now, but they weren't when he was there. And he led them. He was he had
Good call.
6 games.
Good call, yeah.
Of 10-plus tackles. And he was not a second-round freakish pick. He's in the NFL. He's playing for the 49ers, but he was not like an automatic great get that you saw in Braden Fisk. But Tatum Bethune produced at UCF and made a whole bunch of tackles there, and then came here and transferred that into being a very good player at Florida State too.
Speaking of recruiting, Wadata_80, wake up, gentlemen. Generally, do staffs have a consistent message or theme when it comes to recruiting? For instance, are offensive linemen being pitched the same message as a defensive back? So you can win a championship here, I can get you to the league. Have you seen the ladies at the university? Or whatever other marketing you wish to insert? Or is each position coach delivering their own message? Does the head coach determine the marketing message he wants pitched? I'm pretty sure it starts from the top down. I mean, Norvell gives them the overall vision, the overall package they're going to give these kids. And then, you have your own personality. Hey, you're going to be working with me, but, just know that, I work for Mike. This is how Mike likes to get things done. I believe in Mike. This is what we're going to do. I don't think they freelance a lot. I don't think Mike can talk about family and fit, and those guys can just, walk into a high school or a junior college or wherever and just start spouting other stuff. So
it's weird now, though, right? Because how many of these guys are on the road talking to recruits, spouting? Because I think the selling point the last 4 or 5 years, and it has been genuine, especially the last 2 years, has been genuine in their support of Mike Norvell. Like Mike Norvell is the truth. He's real. He promised he was going to turn Florida State around, and look what they've just done. They've won 19 games in a row. They just won the ACC. He won the AAC at Memphis his last year, went to the Cotton Bowl. He's been to a Cotton Bowl and an Orange Bowl in the last 5 years. He is a great coach, and he's going to get the best out of you. I think the selling point, obviously Florida State is its own selling point. That's the number one overall overarching recruiting tool, is just the history and tradition of Florida State, the fan base, the female population, all those things that have been there forever. But the specific selling point to this program, I think, has been Mike Norvell, right? Don't you think? Like, they believe in their head coach. These coaches that are out on the recruiting trail, they have believed in their head coach. Well, now a bunch of them are about to get fired. So what are they saying to these recruits? It's a fascinating couple of weeks, right? Like, who's even talking to them? Because they're going to be like, okay, well, who's going to be my position coach? Well, I'm going to be. Are you sure? Pretty sure. I mean, maybe. I'll get back to you. Like, how do those conversations even happen when there's so much turmoil within a season? I would think the message isn't what it's been, because I would think the message typically is they believe in the head coach and they sell Mike Norvell and his vision. But it's kind of hard to sell the vision of a guy that's about to fire you.
Bradley Moss, wake up. If we do end up moving on from Coach Mike Norvell, who would be your top pick to replace him? Also, do you guys feel we need to get another quarterback from the portal for next season? Lastly, you guys should start off every show with where the countdown clock is at the end of the season, so we can all know that we're that much closer to the end of this miserable disaster of a season.
You should do that, Aslan, because these drop at 12 a.m., right?
Yeah.
So whatever 12 go to what time of day do we assume the Florida game is going to be? Noon? 3:30?
Yeah, it's got to be noon.
It could be 3:30.
I guess. I mean,
but yeah, you're right. It's probably going to be it's going to be noon.
2-9 team versus a
4-7 team or a 5-6 team. You're right. I would say we could do that. Just assume assume that game ends at 3:30 p.m. the Saturday after Thanksgiving, whatever it is, like November 30th.
Crazy, right? So late.
I know.
This
So
year.
that's where your countdown clock starts. We're aiming for 3:30 on November 30th is when that's the countdown. So when we start Sunday show, you'll be like, okay, it's whatever. I can't even do the math. Whatever that would be, 400 hours, 21 minutes, and 16 seconds until 2024 season is officially over. Something like that.
All right, we can try to do that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I keep saying Lane. Lane's got his own warts. They've lost 2 games. He does some really weird things. But I just
What are
feel
you
like
talking about? What are you answering?
the question was
who would replace
top pick to
Norvell?
replace him. I mean, I like Lane. I mean, I think Lane rubs people the wrong way, but I think that he's fairly transparent and honest. And like, you know, I guess selfishly, if I'm gonna have to be asking a guy questions, like I'd rather ask a guy like Lane Kiffin questions than. I mean, Kirby would be the obvious pick, but I don't know, that's not realistic. So I'm trying to offer some of that somewhat.
I don't know that Lane's realistic, but Lane's more realistic than Kirby.
Yeah, I mean, well, why wouldn't he be realistic? Like, you don't think in 2 years, if he's tired at Ole Miss and Mike doesn't have this thing going, I feel like Lane was apparently kind of at the top of the list if Mike was going to go to Alabama. I thought somebody had a hunch about that, but no,
it's just hard to outbid those schools.
That's true.
It's just hard to outbid.
Well, we
them.
did. We outbid Alabama.
Well, short of at least got in the neighborhood, and they had to go to their second choice. Yeah. At least that's how Jimmy Sexton portrayed it.
Listen, I just want a guy. Listen, I like Jimbo, and I know it pisses everybody off. I was comfortable and content with that. Maybe in the world of a 12-team playoff, I have to kind of adjust my barometer. But my whole thing with Jimbo felt like every 3 or 4 years, you're probably going to have a shot at winning the national title. I know a lot of people listening to this, Corey, you included, grew up in a time and place where Florida State was expected to do it every single year, and they quite literally did it every single year.
Well, look, there's 14 straight years where they would have been in the playoff.
Yeah.
And probably been had a bye in the first round. For 14 straight years, if it was a 12-team playoff, they would have been in.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, I guess with a 12-team playoff, it kind of changes to I want to be in that playoff every other year, once every 3 years, and I just don't want these kind of valleys. Like, I do not want these kind of valleys ever again. I can't see Lane ever letting things slip like this poorly and badly. And people might be like, go back and look, as big of a failure, quote unquote, as he was, as big of a loser, which is a really weird thing. People call Mike a loser, and then people get really upset. Like, he's losing, but he's not a loser. Take that back. But Lane's never been in this sort of predicament, so I could live with those mind-numbing losses that he has every single year at Ole Miss, seemingly. If just get me to the playoff like every second or third year, and let's get like one title every 7 years. That's not the way life works.
Okay,
that's how I
let's say you can't. But look, man, this is what I'd say about Lane Kiffin. I can promise you this. I don't know if he'd work at Florida State. I know he'd never have an offense that averaged less than 15 points per game. I know it. I know it in my plums. Deep down in my plums, there's no way that Lane Kiffin would have an offense this bad. He just wouldn't. It's not possible. He never has. He never will. I don't know if he'd get us, the royal us, all of us listening to this and talking about this program, back into playoff contention every year. But I know his offense would be one of the best in the ACC. That's what you know. Don't know how he does anything else. Don't know if he'd ever have a defense that was good enough to win a national championship. Blah, 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 blah. But his offense would be always one of the best in the conference, and certainly not the worst in the country. Just couldn't happen. But realistically, because I don't think Lane is realistic. I just don't think that Florida State wouldn't get him. I don't think he'd leave Ole Miss for Florida State. Not in the current. He doesn't even know where Florida State's going to be in a conference. He's said Ole Miss for life if he wants it, and they pay him a ton of money. And he's proven he's on the fringe of getting to the playoff. He's already got 2 losses. He can can lose twice at Ole Miss and still get to the playoff. That's not a bad gig. So I don't know who's realistic to come to Florida State. You know what I mean? Like that's the issue right now. Is you're probably going to have to hire a Group of 5 coach like Nick Saban. Maybe he gets the itch again. Sure, give him a call. Sure, that would be my first call. Make him say no. By the way, that Airbnb commercial he did, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, he's a great actor. I was tainted by his acting with Dion in those stupid Geico commercials or whatever they are.
Affleck, come on, man. Show some
Affleck,
respect,
sorry.
man.
That's my fault, Duck. Geico's much better. The caveman commercials still get me.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Where we honeymoon? Mallorca.
Yeah, we don't pass Tina. It's really funny. Like, we don't pass Tina, and but that I don't know why that always tickles my funny bone. But I love the caveman commercials. But Nick Saban can really act. Yeah. But if he gets tired of acting and wants to coach again, that's my first choice.
So close to the beach, right? The sun, the sand, the palm trees.
Nick, the sand in your toes. I know you have some lake house. You can get a beach house here in Tallahassee. It's just a mere. What, Aslan, 36 miles down the road or something? You're right there. You get the helicopter to it. Oh. But so you'd have to get a group of 5 head coach probably, or an assistant from a top-tier program. Those are your 2 options. Don't know if I'd be guaranteed that any of them are better than the guy you got. You could certainly give it a go. You'd be well within your means to give it a go after this disaster. Well, no, you wouldn't because it costs you too much. But I'm saying you're well within your rights to want that because of this disaster. But it's just there's no guarantees. Lane Kiffin would be a guarantee to, I think, get you a good to great offense, which probably in the ACC gets you close to at least you're in playoff contention every year. But I don't know. I mean, I guess you could throw $15 million at him.
What if Six has another good season?
Man, I guess. Yeah, sure. Yeah. This is crazy. All we did was make fun of that guy on Coach Speak for 2 months because the way he carried himself in these press conferences, like, what is this person? And then he's done now look, they played the 103rd toughest schedule in the country.
Right.
But they won. It's not like they're winning their games by 4 points. They're winning each game by 30. So they are crushing these folks. It's just been really, really impressive. That offense legitimately travels. He knows what he's doing. Again, there are coaches all over this country who there's no doubt their offenses work, and their offenses would work here. That's why I hope there is a massive change on that side of the ball, because if you can get a good offense here next year, you are in playoff contention. You just are. You can't have a horrible offense and be any good at all in college football anymore. Iowa was an outlier, and your defense ain't nearly as good as Iowa's was during that run. So you please go get some offensive help. But Norvell will be here next year, and then I guess ask us again next November.
Briefly,
realistically would do it.
Briefly, second part of his question was quarterback portal, yay, nay? I say yay, yeah. Got to, man. You got to. You don't have anything.
I think it depends. To me personally, I think it depends on.
What are you going to get in the spring window? I don't know, man.
No, not that. I think it depends on who you. If you bring in an offensive coordinator, and he has a connection with the quarterback already, that has run his system and has run it well, sure. Otherwise, what are you going to get that is a guarantee better? Because we don't know what these guys are. That's what I just keep coming back to. Like you said in yesterday's or 2 shows ago, like Kromenhawk might be a guy that is an all-conference player for someone else down the road. He might be legitimately good. Brock Glenn might be legitimately good. We can't judge them in this mess. So you might be bringing in someone that isn't as good as the guys you already have, and then you run them off because your offense is so – there's no way to judge how good they are. Give them a competent OC with good players around them, and they might be ready to take off like a rocket ship, one of these 2 guys. But if you're going to the portal, I think it needs to be hand in hand with a guy the coordinator that you're bringing in. Right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So you're not having to try to fit a square peg into a round hole and hope it works. Like, this guy can run this offense. You're spending this money on this portal kid that can run this offense.
Let's go to Mark Naples. Couple short questions tonight. Really don't have it in me to be wordy anymore. Defense currently ranks mid-70s, points, yards allowed. Where would it rank if the offense was average, like around 60th? I guess that's him saying. I don't know if that's him answering his own question or if that's where the offense
No, he's saying like if the offense was 60th in the country instead of 130th.
I would have to think with better field position, more snaps by the offense, and more belief that we can actually score, the defense would be top 40 or better. Yep. Second question, assuming Mike stays, cleans house on staff on the offensive side of the ball for sure, save the buyout on Norvell himself, and you have $10 million plus in NIL to spend purely on the roster on offense, where and how do you spend it? Also wants to commend us for talking about the team every day and bringing energy. It's not talked about enough. I know it's your job, but thank you.
Hey,
punch
you're
Notre
welcome,
Dame
Mark.
in the mouth, win something, or punch them in the mouth with something. I appreciate that, Mark. I guess
thank you,
let's go backwards. I don't know, man. I don't know what the budget is. I don't know what sort of promises, gifts were given by the people that started the Battle's End and how long that money was going to be there. And I don't think the university has like a sort of slush fund, buyout fund where it's like, all right, if our coaches suck, we have this money to pay them off. If they're doing fine, we'll just go ahead and put it towards talent acquisition. But I guess let's say they have $10 million in NIL.
Well, think about that. No, I think he's saying you're saving if it all comes from the same pot, which essentially it does. We can talk semantics about boosters and NIL, but essentially it's big money boosters giving to the boosters and to the Battle's End. So it's all coming from the same pockets-ish. People that care a lot about Florida State football. So not only are you saving the $10 million that it would cost this year to buy out Norvell, like you pay him off per year. You're not going to pay him $65 million in a year. So you draw it out. But so you're saving $10 million by keeping him. You're also saving what, probably $7 or $8 million, because you'd have to hire another coach, and your other head coach would probably want somewhere in the neighborhood of $7.5 million if you're getting somebody from the group of five, or $5 million or $6 million. So you're probably looking at $16 million saved just this year in keeping Norvell, because not only would you have to pay him to not coach, you'd have to pay somebody to coach. Now, the counter to that is, well, you're going to be paying out buyouts for the assistants. So that cuts into that number a little bit. But that you're going to be doing that anyway. You'd be doing that anyway whether you fired Norvell and you fired the whole staff. So let's just say you're keeping $17 million that you would be spending on Norvell and his replacement, on top of what you were already budgeting for your NIL. So, yeah, that's what he's saying, right? Like, that money can now be – the money you're not spending on Norvell, you can at least use a portion of it to go get yourself a better roster.
Yeah, I don't know,
right?
man. I don't know.
We
if I
don't
have
know
the
the inner
money.
workings, though.
Yeah, just in terms of like whatever. If I'm the rich booster guy, did I already guarantee you guys I was going to give you $5 million for whatever you needed? Either I'm going to give you $5 million to help get rid of coaches or to get better players. I just don't know if that's the way it works out. But to the point of asking this question and talking about it, it's just so hard to say, man, because you have a whole roster, and I don't know how you want to split up. So you get $10 million, let's say, I don't know, like what's that works out to like what, $1.5 million per position group if you did on average, but it's obviously not going to work like that. I don't think you're going to have to spend big dollars on a quarterback, because you're probably going to get to your point, Core. I think you're going to, if you're going to bring in a quarterback, maybe it's somebody that's had spot duty at another program just to give you some kind of stability to help mentor these kids. But you can't go into a season that's so pivotal and not know what you have a quarterback and not have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, you might think Luke can be good. You might think Brock can be good, but you don't know that they are.
You also don't know that anybody could be good in this offense.
Yeah, that too. I feel like offensive line, I know you said defensive line the other day, get the best guys you possibly can there, but don't, and I just feel there's so many qualifiers. I don't want you to overspend I don't want you to spend just for spending's sake, because you need people at that position. If there's guys out there that are high caliber left tackle at Buffalo, and he's got all the measurables and everyone's saying, yeah, this guy's actually going to be an NFL player, okay, sure, like give him top dollar to bring him in. I think that might be the most stabilizing force you can do, because you're probably going to have Hakeem and Luane McCoy should be good enough to put up some stats in this conference with a good function.
Destin Hill. Yeah.
You got those tight ends. Cam Davis is good enough. Mekhi Danzy's something different. So you've got some of those pieces. Go all in on either a quarterback that's a sure thing, or a couple offensive linemen that are a sure thing, because Jacob Rizzi probably part of the solution. Jalen Early might be able to fit in somewhere. Andre Otto might be able to fit in. So bring in two top caliber guys there. But then, your defense is probably going to need a lot of it as well.
It's all dumb.
Yeah, it is.
It's just dumb that I know we have some big money boosters that listen to this show that give a lot of money to the program. It's just completely asinine that college football is like this. As I was saying on headlines, Falcons fans don't have to pay the players. They just buy season tickets. That's how they support the franchise. They don't have to pay buyouts. But in college athletics, it's on the fans to help fund buyouts, and now it's on the fans to help fund rosters, as well as buying season tickets. It's just crazy. But anyway, I'm yelling at the clouds. It's just the reality of the situation. But it is just bizarre. Hopefully, again, if and when this House resolution thing passes and they break up the revenue, the onus on the boosters and the fans to produce a winning product will be lessened a great deal, because it is just absurd.
All right, what about the first part, Corey? If the offense was average around 60th, where would the defense be, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's all – I don't know, like, statistically how you'd quantify that, but it would obviously be much better because, yes, they ran – the offense ran 46 plays the other day. 46 plays. They can't stay off the field. Now, the defense deserves plenty of blame because they can never get off the field. And then the offense can't stay on the field. That's a bad combo. But, yes, they would be – if they had belief that the offense would ever score, if the offense could ever put a drive together, that would all help. Florida State is near the last in the country in time of possession. They're third to last in the country in third down conversion percentage. Like, all the things that a defense would want an offense to be, they're horrible at. So, yeah, and he talks about complimentary football all the time and how they don't play well with it. Well, that's one of them. Like, just the amount of plays that the Florida State defense is on the field lends itself to, I don't know where they are in yards per play, but yardage and scoring, like Mark said, they're in the 70s. Yeah, I think they would be a slightly above average defense, in my opinion, if the offense was just average, because they wouldn't be on the field as much. It just stands to reason mathematically. Less chances for the other team to gain yards and score points because they're not on the field as much.
It's 2024, and although the Cubs did win the World Series, nope, no flying cars. But our innovations have yielded things like phones that tell us what song's playing and televisions the size of mattresses for mere dollars. And tools to help us groom without the stresses that we had to deal with of yesteryear. We're men, we're tough and all that stuff, but some bits a little bit tender, a little bit sensitive, maybe a little bit delicate. Well, Manscaped has crafted devices to safeguard our hardware. It's called skin-safe technology. It involves the use of blades with advanced ceramics and rounded teeth. I mean, the thought of teeth near the jewels. But, hey, rounded teeth? All right, sounds safe, feels safe. Head to manscaped.com, use the promo code WARCHANT to get 20% off your order. Manscaped, like landscaped.com, promo code WARCHANT for a deep 20% discount. Manscaped.com, be him and trim. Last segment of the week, last question of the mailbag. It's Wake Up Warchants presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, promo code WARCHANTBOGO, WARCHANT BOGO. Buy it, try it, you'll like it. Pinky swear. Island Chief, we go off on here, Corey. Well, we go off on, but we head out to it. Wake up, guys. So I've come here seeking knowledge, things that they would not teach me back in college. In the self-evaluation process at the end of last season, how could the interpretation of that be, we will have a very good offensive line? Where was any of that on film? When Jordan went down, it wasn't like we leaned on the running game. In the Miami game, before he went down, we rushed for 57 yards.
Yep. So
we came into the season blinded by the light of 13-0. Norvell failed to get this team ready to get the best out of their potential. Is there enough talent on the offensive roster to be putting up 27 to 30 points a game? Where is the compete in this offensive roster? Oh, no. I think I said too much.
The offensive line, you thought that the guards would be better. The center is 35 years old. The two tackles have played a ton of football. Darius Washington was your best lineman last year. He was all ACC. He was one of the best linemen in the conference last year. And you thought the guards were going to be better. So you did hope that the running game would be much, much improved. And Maurice was banged up last year, but Maurice is perpetually banged up. It's not a shot at him. It's just the position and the wear and tear on his body over the last 5 or 6 years, man. It's a lot of football he's played, man. And he had to play really early. Then other guys got banged up. And I just think that the thought was you had experience. They were bigger than they ever were. They were supposed to be better than they had ever been. And you added two nice pieces with who'd they bring in? Richie Leonard and who?
T.J. Ferguson,
T.J.
Terrence
Ferguson,
and Jacob Rizzi.
And Rizzi. So you brought in some experienced linemen. You're like, okay, this is a really experienced group. They played a lot of football. This should be our strength. And clearly they were wrong. And they were so wrong that, again, it has to make you reflect on what you're doing. Like decisions you're making, things you think you see that you are completely wrong. It makes you question everything. Because, yes, that was a wild whiff. That was like a Javier Baez swing and miss. Ooh. And a ball in the other batter's box. I have friends that are Cubs fans, so they lament Javier Baez. I think he plays with the Tigers now, but he took some awful swings. And then every week he'd hit 2 home runs. But so they miss so badly that you have to wonder if you're Norvell and Atkins too, but especially Norvell. Like, what was I thinking? How did I get this wrong? And that's where you hope the reflection. And look, he's had to. It's not like it just took the North Carolina game for him to realize, oh man, I was really wrong about our offensive line, and I'm probably really wrong about the guy coaching them. He's known that probably since the Boston College game, at least since the Memphis game. He's known, okay, not only is this offensive line bad, it's worse than last year's offensive line, which wasn't very good, and it's not going to get any better. We got no hope here for this season, I mean. So, yeah, I don't even remember the context of the question, but it's
what did you see on film last year to make you think you could walk into the season and be all right at that position, But to your point, they upgraded. They thought they upgraded.
Yeah. But I think the thing they should have thought about in hindsight, and again, I'm saying this with 11 months in hindsight, when Jordan Travis didn't play against Florida, when Jordan Travis didn't play against Louisville, and when Jordan Travis didn't play against Georgia, that offensive line was still the same. Like, they didn't lose any of those guys. That was your starting offensive line in those 3 games, and they did essentially diddly-poo. They did nothing. When the season was on the line and you wanted to ride that veteran offensive line, that big, physical, quote-unquote, veteran, experienced offensive line, I don't know what you ran for against Louisville, but if you take away the Toafili Wildcat, I'm going to guess it was 2 yards to carry, and that was with Trey effing Benson. In Florida, I know Trey scored a couple of touchdowns, but you weren't marching up and down the field against that team either that Saturday night. And then obviously the Georgia game, even in the second half, when Georgia was playing their subs, you still had your starting offensive line out there, and you were doing nothing. Now, again, Ja'Kai Douglas was your running back. So there were all these reasons to, excuse it. Like, well, yeah, you didn't have your running backs against Georgia. And, yeah, you had a third-string quarterback against Louisville. You were playing it safe. And Louisville they weren't going to let you run against them. And you didn't have the ability to take advantage in the air. And it's like, well, you know what? Some offensive lines can just create holes, even if you know they're going to run. I'm pretty sure Florida State knew Amari Hampton was going to get the ball a few times on Saturday. Dude still ended up with 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. Some offenses can still overcome a defensive game plan. But when it was obvious in the Louisville game, the Florida game, and the Georgia game that that offensive line in 2023 could do basically nothing without Jordan Travis, maybe in hindsight that should have been a sign as, okay, these guys, I know they're old and they played a lot of football for Florida State, or they played a lot of football in their careers. They're not what we think they are. And we're not going to be very good. Or this coach isn't what we think he is. And he's not very good. But, that's all in hindsight 11 months later.
Yeah, I wonder if they would ever admit to anybody that they were so dejected about that Orange Bowl game that they never, they probably I never watched the tape. I burnt it. And it's like, maybe you should have watched it.
Well,
because
yeah, again,
Georgia team, they had some opt-outs. So let's look at real quick, and we got to go because I got to go literally here.
Yeah, you going to Chicago with the lady friend. We still haven't talked about that, by the way, Aslan.
It's fine. It's
not. We need to get to know.
We got a 1-8 ball team, buddy. We got to talk about that.
Let's talk about the important stuff.
But just think about the way that game was, and then, all right, so we look like that on offense. We went and added DJ Uiagalelei, Roydell Williams, Malik Benson, and then 2 new offensive linemen.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel like you're going to close the gap a lot. And then defensively, we went and added a all Pac-12 performer, a good legacy guy with a high ceiling, Marvin Jones Jr., A guy that, had been played a lot of football at linebacker and Cam Riley, but never really kind of fulfilled, I guess, his measurables, if you will. Yeah. And, Earl Little, a guy that had not been able to play really any football in the last 2 years because he's been dealing with injury. Those were kind of like your big hot pieces, like the big additions. And it's like, man, that was a 60-point loss, and they took it easy on you. And so, yeah, there's something maybe about that they shouldn't admit, but,
Well, the thing is obviously that was not the Florida State football team. We've said that, or at least I've said that a million times, that what we saw against Georgia was not any clear representation of what that football team was, obviously. But none of the offensive linemen opted out. That was your starting offensive line. And in the second half, I get it, man. Georgia's got a really good defensive front. Not many people just ran at will against them. And you had Ja'Kai Douglas as your starting running back because Benson opted out. Toafili was hurt. So you didn't have any running backs either. Somebody else was hurt too or didn't play. Or Rodney Hill had transferred. So you're down to no running backs. So it wasn't ideal anyway. And you're on your third-string quarterback. But in the third quarter, they're playing nothing but subs and freshmen. And you're still not kind of mauling them. You're not moving them out of the way. You're not giving your quarterback great protection. That was maybe the sign that, this isn't – it's not that you're not close to 2023 Georgia without all your good players. Duh. You weren't close to 2023 Georgia's backups without all your good with your starting offensive line. You still weren't moving the ball against their backups. You went scoreless. You were shut out in the second half. And I'm pretty sure your starting offensive line played most of that second half. And you were shut out. So that was it. But again, I go back to the Florida and the Louisville game. That's when you could have really, showed some exercise, some dominance, taken over the game like Michigan did last year when they didn't even throw the ball in the second half against Penn State. Just ran it 37 straight times. Florida State couldn't do that with this group. And this line isn't good enough. This offensive line isn't close to good enough. I don't know if you can go buy an offensive line in a year, but it's got to be so much better next year. And the good news is, as we sell hope on this show, quit saying sell, Corey. As we give hope, because the Florida State doesn't pay me. The football team doesn't pay me. I'm not here to sell hope. I'm not here to sell anything. But as we try to look at the silver lining, you can be much better, Aslan. Next year, your offensive line can be one of the best in the ACC. Will it? Probably not, because it's Florida State, gang. When do they have a good offensive line every 10 years? But it can be. There are the pieces out there to go have yourself a good offensive line. When do you get to Chicago, by the way? Friday? Thursday?
Friday afternoon. No, Thursday afternoon. Sorry, Thursday afternoon.
Oh, yeah. So you're already in Chicago while people are listening to this.
Yeah, that's right. Just had probably some Giordano's last night, probably.
Oh, that's fun. Just go get some lasagna. Go to an Italian restaurant and get some lasagna. It's the same thing. But delicious. You don't have to wait as long either. My pizza's going to take 45 minutes? Great. That sounds perfect.
I wish 45 minutes. It's like an hour and 15.
Holy cow. And then you eat 2 pieces and you're like, what did I do this for? Yeah. It's still good, though. It's something to do, right? Yeah. It's something to do. Yeah. They got good museums in Chicago.
I've heard. I'd go check one out. Speaking of checking things out, come by the Cummins tailgate over at the Belmont Beverage Lot. That's 1621 South Bend Avenue in South Bend, Indiana. It's like a half mile away from the stadium. Great location. Free food and drinks. It includes the adult variety of drinks. It's not just soft drinks. You will be banded. They'll be monitoring you, making sure you're not doing anything crazy. I shouldn't say that. Feels very like Big Brother-ish 1984 Orwellian. They'll be watching you. They'll be monitoring you. But, just it's not going to be it's not going to be like, it's not going to be like back at the Pike House back in 89. Corey, it won't be like that back in the day.
Understood, buddy.
So check out the Jeff Cameron Show 1 to 4 o'clock. Pregame show as well. Details provided over there on the JCS as well as warchant.com. Postgame show 10 to 15 minutes afterwards, as well as the Warchant Wrap, another one where Ira will be remotely doing this. I like it, though. I like how you get to watch a TV copy and be in the comfort of your home and watch it, Corey, and then Ira's in the thick of the madness, and then you guys come together and do the best wrap-up of any tandem in all of sports.
Hey, there is a chance. It's not a great one, but there is a chance we're talking the Warchant Wrap is about the biggest upset in Florida State football history.
It is.
There is a chance, folks. All I'm saying is in 1976, Bobby Bowden took a team that was coming off 5 wins in 3 years or 4 wins in 3 years, and it just lost 47-0 to Miami, a bad Miami team. They go to Norman, Oklahoma, and play the number 1 team in the country, and they're down by 3 points in the fourth quarter. I think they ended up losing like 17-6, but they're down 10-6 in the fourth quarter. And that's when Bobby Bowden's whole career turned around and Florida State turned around. They proved they could play. They almost pulled off a stunning upset. They were like 34-point underdogs, and they almost won that game. They were in the game in the fourth quarter. It can happen. Riley Leonard ain't Jesus. He ain't touchdown Jesus. He ain't Joe Montana. He's not even Brady Quinn. You can go. They're not unbeatable. Northern Illinois, who's 1-3 in the MAC, proved that. Rise up and just play hard and give yourself a chance in the fourth quarter. Put some real game pressure on them. But you can't score, so you probably won't. Have a great weekend, everyone.